All right, welcome in, McElroy. Welcome in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7 a.m. Wednesday, February 4th, right here on Jocks. A lot to get to today. Jesse Simonson going to join us, talk his Substack, and ranking college football teams heading into the season. How much more difficult that's going to be now maybe than it previously was. Andy Kennedy previews a massive matchup tomorrow night on the show at 8 a.m. today, and Jordan Kay is going to talk South Carolina, kind of where their portal class is, how they're looking at some of the guys coming in, going out. Do we feel differently about that team going into this season maybe than last season? Because that was one, Greg, it was easy for people to be on both sides of. We sort of saw it for what it was. You lose those D tackles. You lose a really good tight end, a couple offensive linemen. But it was also easy for some people to get a little bit more of a clouded picture of what that was going to be because you had so much individual star power on both sides of the ball.
I never, not one time, bought into the hype last year.
Well, not so much hype, but it's easy to say, man, they could have takeover guys on both sides. So easy to get excited about.
Definitely have that, but the ball bounces away from you from time to time too. And if you look at how things went the year before, like just the way the stars aligned the year before and how they won tight games and how Lenoris made big plays and like all this other stuff. And then you look at the personnel that was lost off defense and no one wanted to focus on that. They only wanted to focus on the individual player that they had back.
Yep.
They didn't look at Eamon Worry. They didn't look at some of these other pieces that were gone. They looked at the individual Dylan Stewart and thought, oh, yeah, what more do you need?
Yeah, you had Demetrius Knight at linebacker, Boogie Huntley, T.J. Sanders inside. There was a lot that made that team go. Kyle Kennard opposite Dylan Stewart and kind of ignored a lot of that. But how do we view that team heading into this year? We'll talk to Jordan Kay about that one and kind of where that is. Speaking of SEC teams, we're jumping right into it today. 800-239-9569. You want to be a part of the show? 800-239-WJOX. Text in 205-834-9450. Right into SEC football today. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. Listen online, jocksfm.com. If you just began to project it out today, which in and of itself is going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
Where would you think Alabama ranks in the league? And then we'll get to where Auburn potentially ranks in the league heading into this season.
You're asking me where they rank in the league right now?
I am asking you.
Is that like an odds thing? Are you going to tell me the odds? Or?
No, we do have way too early SEC power rankings, which is kind of what drew me to this. It made me begin to think about, okay, where do we look at some of these teams heading into this season? I think number one is going to be pretty obvious in the SEC this year. Texas will be at the top.
Probably.
Brandon Marcello has his SEC power rankings for 2026 out already, which is hard because a lot of these guys hadn't played football together.
Right.
A lot of these guys hadn't played football in this uniform. A lot of these guys have a new coach, be it position coach, side of the football coordinator, or head coach. So a lot of things have to come together for a lot of these teams. You think about, say, Kentucky. I mean, we have no idea what Kentucky's going to look like. That's a totally different personality that's going to be your head coach.
No.
They've added some really good players through the portal. We don't know if it's going to work. One of the big misconceptions we always talk about on this show, it doesn't just always work. But Brandon Marcello does have Texas 1. I'm interested in just how far you think it would take us to get to Alabama. And you usually do a good job of saying, all right, let's go through it. Let's run through it. So
that's the only way to do it. Texas 1.
What other teams would you right now say definitively you would have or should be ranked ahead of Alabama?
Texas, I think for sure. I wouldn't push back on that. I think A&M, based on what they have coming back, the big question being along the offensive line, which is a real question. Replacing Casey Concepcion's a question. Like that's a legitimate question. Georgia
A&M currently 3.
Yeah, I'd put them ahead of Alabama. I put Georgia ahead of Alabama.
Georgia 2
right now. I put Oklahoma ahead of Alabama.
He has Oklahoma at 4.
Yeah, so we're same page. And then that's when it starts to become a little bit of a toss-up between LSU, Alabama. LSU has a lot of really shiny, flashy objects, but there's a lot of new.
A lot.
So can that come together? Perhaps. Could be beautiful. Could be awful. So that would be the other team that would be in consideration with Alabama. Probably LSU at 5, Alabama at 6.
I think I know your answer to this, but I want to entertain it anyway. Is there any part of, and listen, he's been at the biggest pressure cookers in college football, multiple, be it Bama, USC, Tennessee, so it shouldn't affect him that way. But is there any part of you that looks at this collectively, holistically, and says, it's going to be a different deal being the LSU head coach? And there was a part of how he got started at Ole Miss that was, he had a long runway, so to speak, and maybe some room for error. Not that there was a lot of it. I mean, he started out pretty good and got pretty good pretty quick and stayed there. But is there any part of you that looks at just how it worked there and then the extra complications that will come with being at LSU because of what it is and what it means to so many people in different ways?
Correct.
That it might not, it's going to make it more difficult to just work, so to speak.
There's definitely going to be way more pressure now. Like, I know people will look at, oh, well, he's coming from the SEC. Ole Miss is different. Before he arrived, it was like, let's win the party. Like, it's different. You can't sit there and say, at Ole Miss, you'd lose the game, and people would be like, all right, well, let's go back to the tailgate. At LSU, you lose the game. People are trying to flip your bus as you're driving out of the stadium. Seriously. Like, it's just a different animal. You could sit here and tell me all you want. Oh, they're two SEC schools. No, they're not. Two very different SEC schools as far as level of intensity. And with all due respect to Lane Kiffin, the only places he's ever been the head coach and had success, FAU and Ole Miss. Tennessee's different, SC's different. And he's a totally different guy than he was at Tennessee or SC. But could it have an impact on him if things aren't going as smoothly as he wants it to go? Perhaps. We don't know the answer to that.
There are also folks, I believe, that will say, well, his personality's built for that. He can handle it. He can manage it. I think people will go this direction, and they'll say, it's not going to get to him. No, he's so nonchalant. He doesn't care. I think that people will look at that as well and make themselves believe that this will be a simpler fix than maybe if it was another personality that he's kind of built to manage those things. I don't know how real that is or isn't. I do think that it's accurate about his personality, but I also agree with you that this is a different pressure cooker. I mean, look what it did to Brian Kelly. I mean, he didn't have his guys going through the chutes or pushing the sled for 8 or 9 months. Like it make different jobs make you be different things. And I don't think anybody has mentioned that. They just think, oh yeah, it's just, put the quarter in the slot machine and here we go. We're rolling because it's LSU. Well, it didn't go great long-term for Ed Orgeron. It didn't go great long-term for Brian Kelly. So we just think it ended poorly for Les Miles.
Yeah.
But we just kind of look at it and say, no, this is going to work. This is going to be it. He's the guy. And not that there's not a lot of what he does that can't make him the guy, but I do think it's worth the conversation to say, hey, is it just going to be as simple of a fix as it was the last time around at a different place?
Well, I think it is. But at the same time, it's not like I think everyone here thinks Lane Kiffin's very different than he is.
That's totally fair.
Like
and
that
accurate.
to me is maybe the most frustrating thing about like talking to anybody about Lane Kiffin is like, oh well, they all think they know him. You don't know him. Like and we don't know him that well either. I mean, like he's a different bird. It's not like he's this open book. You think he is, but he's not. Far from it. Like I think the perception of Lane Kiffin is very different than the reality of Lane Kiffin, and doesn't mean he's not a great coach. Doesn't mean any of these things. It just means that we don't really know how he's going to handle this job. Like everyone loved him at Ole Miss because he's kind of a Twitter warrior, but like watch his press conferences. Is he entertaining in the press conferences? You think he's entertaining and you watch his press conference and wants you to sleep. Like,
it's clear.
So why did the people just not watch his press conferences? I mean, like what are we doing? I guess I just don't know the answer to that. So I think that Lane Kiffin's a bit misunderstood, not in a bad way, not in a good way. But anybody that says, I know exactly how this is going to work at LSU, I think that's a misconception. Because I think the pressure is higher now than ever before on him and on LSU, given the public recruitment of Lane Kiffin and the, quote, resources that have been made public towards propelling him to success and an inevitable national championship.
It's totally fair. And some of that not on him, by the way.
No.
About,
None of this is on him. This is just the circumstances.
Politicians stepping out saying the things that they did about this job and what they were going to do to aid this job, help this job, and make people believe that this job should be something because of just things that they said and probably not much reality to what they said they were going to do or could do or wanted to do or what it should be. It's just because they think that because the brand has been that before, that they're going to step up because they're in a position of power and all of a sudden just make it be something that it is or isn't. And then fitting all the pieces in together might not be what it is. We haven't really taken a deep dive into the schedule. We've looked a little bit at the depth chart and kind of what it's going to be. Some of the guys coming in. It's easy to sit here and say if everything works, it could be really good and it could be awesome and it could be fun to watch. There are also parts of it that you look at and say, man, maybe not. You're still going to have some pretty good weapons coming in. You should have portions of the offensive line repaired, but to what extent? And you got a quarterback, Greg's not going to go through spring practice. So he's not healthy right now. And that complicates things. Defensively, a lot of guys out that did a lot of good things for your team last year. Now, that could also simplify some things for you.
Correct.
You get a Weeks back, which is he's a difference maker.
Massive.
So,
and you honestly, you probably shed some pieces that you can interpret it as however you want. Like there are some guys that were highly athletic and talented on that defense last year that frankly were a liability at times. Like I think, and occasionally in that defense, you would have some improvisation. Like AJ Halsey, for example, is incredible, right? At safety. Like
take 11 of him.
Mansour Delane, incredible. Like two incredible guys. Had some other guys that were really good too. But there were also some guys that would kind of do their own thing, and all of a sudden you're out of position as a result, or maybe there wasn't full comprehension of what the call was asking them to do, and it showed up on time from time to time. Like there were busts from time to time, shockingly, especially in the latter half of the season. It wasn't so much in the first half; they played pretty well, and then it's like something broke them in the Ole Miss game or something.
Well, you're
they
also
weren't the same group after that.
Just take this for example. You're putting the green dot on a nickel / outside linebacker.
Yes.
You tell me right now, how many other college football defenses that have the capability to have the communications device in a player's helmet are putting it on that guy?
Nobody that I know of.
So structurally, from a communication standpoint, you're already very different.
Yes.
Just right out of the gate, you're very different. And as you mentioned, that can handcuff some communication. That can change what you call, how you call it, where you call it, when you call it. That's before the ball is ever even considered being snapped. Just one of the complications that kind of came with last year and what it was. So I do agree with you that there are some things that most likely on their way out could end up being addition by subtraction. I don't think that's far-fetched at all. But you also lose some guys that can flat out play.
Yeah.
Jack Pyburn, pretty good player for you last year. Jacoby Guillory came along. Bernard Gooden was awesome for them last year.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big concerns you look at going into this year is like we were worried about middle of the defense last year. I don't know how you go into this year and say that is completely repaired itself. That has to be one that you look at and say, how far can that come? Because they kind of held on by a thread last year, and the depth never got to be a massive, massive issue. But they were right there on the brink of that being a huge issue as well.
Yeah. I mean, and I think if you look at it, they had some look, it's not unlucky might be the wrong word, but like the O-line not being as good as it was a bit unlucky based on the individual personnel that they brought in. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, some of it was self-inflicted though.
I'm not saying it's not, but like it's a little unlucky.
Yes.
Like they had, if you look at their individual players that were brought in from the year before and look at their tape the year before and then watch them in an LSU uniform, it's like, what the heck happened to this guy?
And then compound that with recruiting. They had high-profile guys, talented guys that just didn't work out the way it was supposed to. So that's also fair. So LSU would come in at 5 for Brandon Marcello, and then Alabama would be 6. They would be next. Do you view that as sort of fair?
Yeah, there's
accurate?
a lot of, I think it's totally fair. And I think that Alabama fans will take it as a slight. I don't think you need to. I think you need to just acknowledge that there are a lot of unknowns on this team. And if you're in the prognostication business and you're trying to evaluate who could do what, you have to go with teams in some cases that have known commodities. There's going to be a lot of youth. You don't know your quarterback. You have 4 new offensive linemen. You lose your top wide receiver. You lose your top tight end. You lose your number 1 running back. Even though it wasn't a great position, it's still an unknown. You lose a couple good pieces along the D line. You lose top 3 linebackers. I mean, this is like it's a totally new team, which might end up being awesome, and it might end up being problematic. We don't know the answer to that just yet. I could trust Kalen DeBoer and his staff's evaluation, but it's still an unknown. I mean, how much do you feel like you right now, compared to other teams in the SEC, and we talk Bama every day, how much do you know about the Tide?
Let's do that on the other side, where Alabama would rank with sort of question mark teams. And one thing that you don't need a prognosticator for is to let you know if flu season is here or not. It is everywhere. It has hit people on our sports teams in our house, at school around our house, at work around our house. Make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters. 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Trane.com. It's hard to stop at Trane. So when we come back, this is what we'll do. We'll take Alabama, for example, and we can do this for other teams. Where are you most confident? Where are you least confident? 800-239-9569. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. We'll discuss the Crimson Tide and levels of confidence with all parts of that football team, where we stand here in the middle of the offseason, next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:20, Wednesday, February 4th, right here on Jocks. Jesse Simonton will join us in 10 minutes to kind of follow up on what we're discussing right now, and that is Brandon Marcello's preseason SEC power rankings. Everybody has their own power rankings, by the way. What would your criteria be if you power ranked football teams?
Known commodities versus unknown commodities.
Obviously, in season will be a little bit different, but are you looking at, like, what would you watch, how position groups operate, like game control, individual players, takeover guys? Like, what are some of the things that would be most important for you if you're saying, I'm placing this team ahead of that team?
No, about floor.
Because it always feels like power rankings is a little bit of a cop-out of who I think is the best team.
The power ranking is what you think, who you think is the best team. I think. I think it is. How else would you interpret it?
See, I kind of look at it as people look at power rankings as more ceiling than like proven commodity.
That to me is dumb.
Oh, I'm not saying it's not. I'm telling you how I think most people view it.
I think
because
you're right.
I think you say power ranking as an excuse to say, well, no, I'm not ranking them as far as who the best team is right now. Like, where would Indiana have been in so many weeks outside the last month of the season this past year in, quote, power rankings?
Fair.
Like, let's FPI. How many weeks was Texas ahead of so many other teams? And we were just like, what are we doing?
Fair.
So that's just kind of how I view it. Like,
I don't
for
think
me,
there's anything. I think it's a bit of a cop out. Like, does have maybe a bit of a ceiling. If I'm putting power rankings together, I like floor.
Yeah.
Like, I've always gonna like floor. It's risk mitigation. Like, what else do you want? You want me to roll the dice? You want me to play green on the roulette table? Like, no, that's ridiculous. I want to, and yeah, you'll roll the dice on a team or two in the top 10. Like last year, I rolled the dice on Miami, and it worked out well. But guess what? We also did. We went off floor last year and thought Penn State and Clemson were going to be in a great spot. That didn't materialize.
Hey, you were on the brink of that thing going away too. I mean, a couple championship games go a different direction, or you don't get a couple good runs in the fourth quarter in College Station, and all of a sudden things are very different.
100%.
All right, let's go to Alabama. We mentioned we would discuss them. 800-239-9569 if you want to get in. Where maybe you have the most confidence, where maybe you have the least confidence with this football team heading into the offseason and spring football. Before we do that, I know one place you definitely have confidence in, and that's Bromberg's.
Well, that's because Bromberg's been serving this community for 190 years. If you just take a look at how long they've been helping us here in the greater Birmingham area, you'll understand why. Because it's incredible the support that you have when you walk in the door. They know your likes, they know your interests, and they might even know what your future partner's interests are as well. They also are celebrating all of you that have gotten recently engaged. If you got engaged over the holiday season, congratulations, that's terrific. Now is the time to start to plan the wedding registry, which is a little bit difficult, by the way, if you've never gone through it before. You got to pick out china and crystal and silverware, casual pieces too. I mean, these are things that you're picking out that you'll have in your family for potentially multiple generations. So having an experienced bridal expert from Bromberg's will be really helpful. Plus, you can enjoy 20% off wedding bands and special pricing on wedding party gifts. So register online at brombergsbride.com or go and see them in Mountain Brook Village or at the Summit.
All right, Alabama, least amount of confidence right now with what you look at them as a team, kind of where they are. What gives you the most concern about this football team right now?
Lack of depth at linebacker.
Because it was a little bit of an issue last year. And you're obviously going to be down two starters that played the majority of the season. I do think QB Reese did some nice things late.
I like QB Reese, okay, but like, what's beyond those guys? Like, you're young at fair. Linebacker, you know what I mean?
It's very fair. And they were very fortunate not to be without Lawson and or Jefferson for the majority of the season last year, because there just wasn't a lot we talked about before the season. Like, who's next? What do we even have? We don't know. So that's one that I'm surprised that goes ahead of just the offensive line in general for you.
O-line, here's the thing about the O-line. It's going to sound really bad. It can't be worse.
Yeah.
And maybe it can. We always say that.
Yeah, it can.
Maybe it can. I don't think it can. not with the personalities and the let's just call it. I mean, there's guys last year that I just flat out would not want to be in a bar fight with. Like, I don't want them on my side in the bar fight. Like, that's a problem.
It is.
So,
and it's fair. But there's also one guy that you'd love to have on your side that's going to be gone.
Correct. And he was great. I loved him. With all due respect to your position, not as concerned about replacing the center.
I think that position has a chance to be solid with Delgatti coming in.
It's not even that. It's just the position.
But you're going to have some other new faces that you're going to have to replace. Those guys have not operated together. You'll bring in a new offensive line coach there as well. So I think that's, for me, would probably be number one. And it's just because I'm going to pay most attention to it first, most likely. But second off, I think with everything that comes with it. And then two, we did mention at times last year, okay, you probably had a guy that was doing a little bit too much at the line of scrimmage. But he could also get things where they needed to go no matter what.
Correct.
Don't know if we're going to have that this year. So that, I think, compounds with a younger quarterback who could get rattled, who could kind of go mute at times. We see it happen before. Doesn't make all the calls, doesn't see things maybe as clear. With that new group, I think only puts it in italics, my concern for that group up front. Doesn't mean they can't figure some of it out or a lot of it out. Probably can, probably will, but it makes it a little more concerning with what quarterback is. And quarterback might be great because the talent is there at quarterback. Multiple guys that have a boatload of talent, but just haven't seen them operate it and be the guy just yet. Where would quarterback fall for you? If you're kind of going down the list of concerns for Alabama, is that next in line? Is it one that you kind of can look past and you got to get through a few other things first?
No, I'm still worried about it. I mean, anytime you have a quarterback that has not played, you have to be concerned. You have to be. I don't care what anybody says. 5 stars, 4 stars, super highly touted, not highly touted. Until you see a guy go do it and take the hit and deliver the throw, it's still a concern.
Yeah.
You can be optimistic as all get out. And I just caution everybody. Reminder, Dylan Gabriel walked out the door at Oklahoma because they were so excited about Jackson Arnold. And then Jackson Arnold got shell-shocked, threw a couple picks in the game against Arizona in the Alamo Bowl and could never recover. 5-star guy that they allowed to become their quarterback without any competition whatsoever because Gabriel was already en route to Oregon. But had they kept Gabriel for another year, what does that look like for Oklahoma?
Yeah.
How much better would they have been? So, like, you can be optimistic. Like, I'm super optimistic. I can't wait to see what these two guys can do when given the opportunity. Just like I couldn't wait to see what Ty Simpson was going to do with his opportunity. And I was pretty dang impressed with Ty early, even though a lot of people were down on him after the Florida State game. It was like he played his tail off. And guess what? He ended up having a great year.
He went past, people can say what they want about late, but that thing was way past anybody's expectations. I saw no one standing on their podium saying that Ty Simpson was going to have the kind of year that he had. Nobody. There may have been some people that say he's going to have a good year, he'll be fine, but not. He exceeded every expectation. No matter what you thought or said. There wasn't one person that had him preseason all SEC.
Not one person.
No. You think there were people that were putting him ahead of Lenore Sellers or Garrett Nussmeier?
He was
or Marcel
great.
Reed?
He was great last year.
No.
I think it's hilarious how many people that don't know ball are proving that they don't know ball by talking smack about Ty Simpson. I think it's hilarious. Oh, ready to see him go. Can't wait for Keelan and Austin. All right. And they might be awesome, but we don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
Like, why we hope. I hope. Definitely want that, but playing college ball is hard. It's really hard.
It's tough.
So it'd be great if Ty was back, but since he's not, you got to go with what you got. And I feel pretty confident in the quarterbacks they have, but it's still a different level. It's a different animal.
For sure. Okay, so that's Alabama. We'll kind of pause this discussion, but we're going to stick with preseason rankings, difficulties that come with it. Jesse Simonson has his Substack out on that topic now. We'll discuss it with him next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:33 Wednesday, February 4th, right here on Jocks. Glad you're with us. Glad you're a part of the show. Listen online, jocksfm.com. App is in your app store, iPhone, Android. You can download that for free. We've got Andy Kennedy coming up at 8 a.m., and there's a reason that we've got him on, John, to talk about what UAB has coming up a little bit later this week.
They have a really big game tomorrow. The UAB Blazers are hosting the biggest basketball game of the year at Bartow Arena tomorrow, February 5th, when they take on the rival Memphis Tigers for the Battle of the Bones. Tickets are available now at UABsports.com. That's UAB, Memphis, and men's basketball, 8 o'clock. It's going to be a gold out, so make sure you gear up in gold and pack Bartow Arena. Don't forget, the first 5,000 fans will get a free gold rally towel. That's UAB, Memphis, tomorrow, Bartow Arena. Get your tickets at UABsports.com.
All right, Jesse Simonton joining us now on the Higginbotham Hotline. You can follow his college football Substack. How do I tell people to find this? Even I'm not up to speed on the Substacks and how they work and where you go and what they do. Give our listeners, I guess, just educate some of them what this even is.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Cole. It's a surrender cobra. I think folks know what that meme looks like. You've seen it when your team is kind of either having that moment of anguish or something just devastating happened in the game you're watching, you throw up that Surrender Cobra. So it's Surrender Cobra. You can find it at Substack.com. It's a free newsletter. Or you can just follow me on Twitter at Jesse R.E. Simonton, and the link's right there. So sign up. It's for the college football junkies. Yeah, love to chop it up. How y'all doing this morning?
We're doing great. And you do a great job with a lot of the stuff that you write. I'm subscribed to it, so I get the emails and I see everything that you put out. And we have been talking difficulties with preseason rankings the last couple of days. And then we were talking some SEC power rankings before we had you on. I think it's more difficult than ever to actually project who is going to be what, specifically with what we've seen Indiana do the last 2 years. I mean, if that's not the explanation point on it, nothing really is. Take us through how you've sort of changed the way that you view who should be ranked where in preseason polls with where we are in college football.
Yeah, so my latest piece at Surrender Cobra kind of dives into this and kind of taking a macro 30,000-foot lens. You know, I pulled like a dozen of these way too early top 25s, just kind of from Josh Pate, you know, your buddy Josh Pate to ESPN or On3. And 5 different teams, to your point about, you know, how do we actually pinpoint who is number one? Indiana kind of coming out of left field a year ago. 5 different teams received first place votes or number one votes. That's Oregon, Ohio State, Texas. Notre Dame was the outlier. And then several schools did vote for the reigning champs, Indiana. So kind of looking at those 5 teams, I kind of went through the process of, all right, who do I think is actually the best team? As we sit here in February, where all these teams got fleas, we're going to pick them to death. And you have to note, Cole, that we're not very good at this. A year ago, on these very same lists, it was Penn State, Clemson, Texas, and Ohio State that were atop all these rankings, and they combined to win 0 playoff games a year ago. 2 of those teams just completely self-immolated in Penn State and Clemson, and Texas obviously underwhelmed. So I think when you take the lens forward and look at 2026, I think it's easy to really nitpick a lot of these teams, and it's easy to kind of overanalyze. So I just settled on, I think that with what Ohio State is bringing back in terms of the best individual player in college football, Jeremiah Smith, I think Julian Sayin has an argument to be, as a second-year starter, the best quarterback in the country. And then you see what they've done in the portal, getting a couple guys from Alabama. They've certainly lost. I mean, you could make the case that they're probably going to lose 3 first-round picks on defense. But I think to date, Ryan Day has proven that he has built kind of an NFL outfit on his coaching staff. And so while I'm not the biggest Arthur Smith fan as a former, Atlanta Falcons fan, but I think, you know, when you marry his run game with what Ryan Day does in the passing game, I just think that's a really good coaching staff. So obviously Matt Patricia worked out in spades a year ago. So right now between those 5 teams, I think Ohio State's the best one. But again, we're bad at this. I could totally be wrong, 7 months down the road here.
Well, you got a bunch on Ohio State. You got a bunch on Texas. You got a bunch on Oregon. You got a bunch on Indiana. You're kind of you did, I think, a good job looking at this article and running through it. But who would you say? Pretty much everybody has a similar top 5, top 8 or so. It's not really. No one's really veering too far out of the lane right now. Why would you? It's February, February 4th. I might add to the beginning of. Who's a team you plan on kind of rolling the dice with as you go forth with I don't know, maybe a bold evaluation of what they might be?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's interesting that just the 5 teams that you highlight. I will note that Tate had Notre Dame #1, and I think it's notable that if you collected all the other 11 rankings that I looked at, Notre Dame wasn't even a consensus top 5 team in those other rankings, so that is a bit of an outlier pick by Josh there. I think certainly, as I noted in the piece, you could make the case. I don't think they're strong cases, but I think you could make the case for Georgia or Miami to potentially be ranked #1 with what they both have returning. I think ultimately, McElroy, that it's going to be a team like LSU that becomes kind of the eye, the candy for some preseason, prognosticators or poll guys. They're going to look at what Kiffin's done in the portal. They're going to say, hey, if Les can win there, if O can win there, I know Brian Kelly didn't work out, but I think Kiffin's got the goods. Sam Levitt, if he's healthy. So I think LSU is a team that probably is going to start somewhere, in the 10, 11, 12. But maybe by the time we tie all these things in knots and do this again, 7 months down the road, LSU could be a team that some are saying, hey, that's a dark horse #1 team.
I think the real question here is, why are we using Pate's rankings at all? And why does that even count? I'm not sure why we would pay attention to that. I mean, that just feels like a waste of time.
1 of 12.
There you go. Fair. And then if we're viewing him as 1 of 12 across all platforms, then I'm fine with that. I think that's perfect. When you look at the transfer portal, how much do you play into the likelihood of it working? Like we were talking about LSU a little bit earlier. And I think 1, because it's LSU, 2, because of what Lane did and where he did it before, people just assume with some high-profile names like, oh, it's just going to work. That's 10, 11 wins easy. They're in the playoff. They'll make a playoff run. But, Jesse, we know it doesn't just work. It takes a lot of things for everything to come together and actually have a great team. How do you view just some of the things coming together? And I'd also like to hear your opinion, because we discussed this earlier. Because this is going to be a totally different monster, the likelihood of it just working for Lane as opposed to how it did when he was in Oxford.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have another piece on Substack. So it's about 2 weeks dated now. But basically, I mean, to kind of synthesize it, I think what Kiffin has done thus far at LSU is exactly what I thought he would do. He's delivered on what he kind of, the prince who was promised. But now comes the hard part. Now comes the actual winning of games. He's already shown, that he has an eye for the portal in terms of what he's done at Ole Miss. Is it completely replicable at LSU? That's to be determined. I think, he certainly is going to have to establish a culture and a new team identity with a roster, I think, so upwards of maybe 50 to 55 new faces. That's a difficult task. He's also going to have to start proving that he can win these top 5, top 10 games that he did not have a ton of pressure on when he was at Ole Miss. But now the expectation is you're at LSU. You're supposed to win these games. You are going to be favored in many of these games. So I'm a little, I don't know exactly how you guys landed on it, but I'm a bit skeptical that just kind of another band of mercenaries is going to immediately mesh and come together in year one at LSU, especially when you then add the fact that I just think, frankly, that Kiffin has not had to deal with a ton of pressure at Ole Miss in terms of expectations. He certainly is their greatest coach in school history. But really up until the end there, he could do the Twitter goofball stuff and not get a lot of pushback. You start doing that at LSU when you're not winning, when the expectation and the tension has really risen. And frankly, I also just don't think that he actually really likes being the villain, but he is now the villain of college football. And so how does he handle that? When you throw all that in the pot together, the 50 new faces, establishing a culture, what's your team identity? How does his staff come together, plus the pressure and all that? I just think that's a lot of stuff that they're going to have to deal with in year one.
I think Greg and I would follow up with probably something very similar. Greg brought it up when we discussed a little earlier that this LSU thing's a different monster. You drop a game, it's gonna sound different, feel different, look different. I think sometimes even based on a performance when you do win a game, it'll be very different. So I think we would be right in line with you there, Jesse, as to exactly how that's going to go and how we think it might go there, whereas a lot of people are just putting them towards the top of the pack across college football.
Yeah, I mean, and when you when you just add in the fact that it's a never-ending soap opera with Lane, and so now you distill that into the season's going to be 4 months long now at this point because when we're playing the national championship. But if you even just go from September to December, how does that just wane on your team? When it's again a new team with 50 faces, you've brought in these guys from all these different places. I also think, guys, I think everyone is already penciling in LSU to the playoff, and some already have them, like I said, as maybe a dark horse number one team. I think the reason they, spent so much money at the quarterback position in the portal is because there is some concern about Sam Levitt's health. And so if he misses spring practice, is the USC kid ready to play, or do they have, a Trinidad Chambliss 2.0 and the transfer from Elon? There's still some questions and uncertainties there with the quarterback position with what everyone thinks that LSU got the number one guy in the portal.
How would you assess a successful first year for Lane Kiffin? Like, what does success look like? Playoff?
I mean, it has to be, right? He literally left a team that he did not think could win a national championship or could even, be competitive in the playoffs. And they ended up winning 2 more games than he has on his entire resume. And now he's at a program where the expectation is not to just make a playoff, but to win a national championship. It's funny because I don't think a lot of folks have framed it like this, but Lane Kiffin basically made a very similar decision to what the guy he's replacing at LSU. Brian Kelly determined that he did not, or believed that he could not win a national championship at Notre Dame. And the very next year, Marcus Freeman took that team, or 2 years later, Marcus Freeman took that team and that program to the cusp of a national championship against Ohio State. Lane Kiffin made it in an even more expedited move and an unprecedented move, something we've never seen, just, up and abandoning your team during a playoff run. But when you make that decision, I think it just immediately heightens the pressure and expectations the very next season. So if LSU goes, 9-3 and misses the playoff, I think that is a disappointment considering the decision that Lane made and the investment that the program has made on him and that roster.
Jesse, great stuff, man. Appreciate the time. Direct everybody to your Substack again, how they can find it and keep up with all your college football coverage.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having number one mid-market show. We're talking about top teams. This is a great show. Appreciate you guys having me on. Substack.com. You can find Surrender Cobra there, Surrender Cobra Substack, or you can just find it on my Twitter at Jesse R.E. Simonson. Sign up. It's free. Good coverage all around.
Absolutely. Appreciate the time, man. We'll do it again soon.
Thanks, guys.
So some interesting back and forth on just how you view teams now, how you view teams of what they might be, what they could be, what they will be. We'll continue that conversation. And he brought up the college football playoff and LSU getting in. You actually brought it up asking the question, Greg. We have some information on the next few college football playoffs. We'll discuss that as well when we come back right here on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:50, Wednesday, February 4th, right here on Jocks. So we've gone through our levels of confidence with some SEC teams. Would you like me to run through the rest of Brandon Marcello's SEC power rankings?
I would. I'd really want to know who 7 is, to be honest.
Since we have AK.
Is Ole Miss 7?
Ole Miss is 7.
Yeah.
Correct. If you missed this earlier in the show.
I'm not looking because I want to just guess. Ole Miss 7. Let's say 8. Tennessee?
No.
Missouri.
Let me revamp this for the listeners quickly. SEC power rankings from Brandon Marcello, CBSSports.com. Texas, Georgia, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, LSU, Alabama, 6th. Then Ole Miss 7. Okay, now you can continue and see if you can see where he went at 8.
Missouri 8.
Correct.
All right. Tennessee 9.
No.
Florida 9?
No.
Huh.
This is an easy one. We talked about him earlier in the show.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, when you think about
South Carolina?
Correct, yes.
Why? Well, like what? I'm not saying I don't like South Carolina fine as a dangerous team, but ahead of Tennessee? Ahead of
Tennessee quarterback dependent right now. If you don't get Joey back,
I get it, but
see where you're not.
But is Joey that good? Like, I mean, is he like a game changer?
No, but he makes you a different team going into the season with known versus unknown. And
I get
year 2 of that system also, I could see that.
I get it. I understand it. I just feel like
I mean, ahead of Florida,
Ole Miss
ahead of
losing
Auburn, new
Trinidad
coaches.
Ole Miss losing Trinidad Chambliss is one thing. Tennessee losing Joey Aguilar is another to me. Like that's I think they can capably replace Joey Aguilar better than Ole Miss could capably replace Trinidad Chambliss. I don't know why I view those in the same light, but it's obviously guys fighting for an extra year of eligibility.
Okay, so Florida would come in after South Carolina at 10. So there's that team that you bring up there.
Okay.
Tennessee will be 11. You want to try to go after that?
Kentucky?
No.
No.
Not too far off, but
Arkansas?
no.
Mississippi State?
No. Auburn at
Vandy.
12.
Auburn?
Kentucky 13. Vandy 14. Arkansas 15. Mississippi State 16. I might have the biggest issue with Mississippi State being 16. Think about some of the individual talent Arkansas had last year and then how bad they were, and you put a new coach on there. Vanderbilt, the all-timers that they're losing from that program standpoint, not all of college football, but and then Kentucky with their uncertainties, I might have a little more confidence in Mississippi State over those 3 for sure. I don't know, man.
Why such a dip on Vandy?
You had a quarterback that meant a lot to your team.
I'm not saying it's not warranted. It's just that's a huge drop.
You also lose a massive mismatched tight end that allowed your offense to do a lot of different things. You're losing a couple of those offensive linemen. There's some big pieces gone from that team.
Huge pieces
and
gone.
If you're really going to go start a true freshman quarterback, I don't care how talented he is, where he's ranked, that's not easy.
I don't disagree. But we're talking about a team that finished, what, 5th in the league last year, 6th in the league?
Around there, yeah.
And now they're looking at them at 14, 15? That's a pretty
fair.
big drop.
It's a big drop. It's a big drop.
I mean, that's just a big drop.
Yes.
And no one's pushing back on it. I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying it's if anyone else dropped 8 spots relative to where they finished last year
right,
and where they're going to be this year, people would be losing their mind. And with Vandy, it's like, yep, they're back to where they should be. It's like, hang on a second. Let's not get too carried away here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I can totally see it. And you can totally see some weight loss in your future if you go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Sign up for the free consultation today. You're going to get a free PSA test, free testosterone test. They'll let you know where your baseline health is and then give you the different options that they can help you with. That might be a weight loss program. That might be getting some peptides back in your system. They want you to feel better. If you're lacking sleep, lacking energy, Game Day Men's Health can help you today get back where you need to get. Listen, holidays are rough. We all put on a few extra pounds. Game Day Men's Health is here to help you. Get back to your normal self, locker room environment, holistic approach to health and wellness, minimal upfront cost from the programs they offer. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. Book your free consultation today. Save 10% on any service they offer by mentioning Mac and Cube when you walk in the front door. It's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. GameDayMen'sHealth.com now open in Trustville. I mean, I think there's a lot of it that after 11 is probably a bit of a toss-up. Like, let me ask you this. Why the confidence with Florida over Tennessee, over Vandy, over Auburn, over Kentucky? Like, I love Jaden Ball. He's one of my favorite players in the league.
For sure.
But what else are you? I mean, okay, you had a quarterback who hasn't played much who's going to be with his old offensive coordinator. Yay.
I think there is a little bit of trust with Sumrall, but I totally understand what
As there should be. We love John. We think John's going to be a great coach and do great things there, but that doesn't mean right now.
No, it might take a little while. That's all fair. That's all reasonable. And that I think is a completely understandable pushback.
Is Missouri too high at 8? I would say yes, Greg, just based on what we talked about being gone from that front 7. That group's going to be different, man.
Completely different. Completely different. We're on the same page.
Like, you have a super talented quarterback coming in, but that doesn't erase what's gone from your defense.
Does not. I like a lot. Look, I like a lot of what Missouri's built. I think this year could be a slight step back, but I kind of thought that last year too. So I don't know. Maybe I feel like I'm perennially a little down on Missouri when I probably shouldn't be.
If you hate Missouri, say you hate Missouri.
I don't. I thought they'd come back to earth, and they did.
Andy Kennedy joins the show next to talk UAB hoops right after this on Jocks.